Hello, everyone. I'm Marvin Jackson, and welcome to Sideline Report. And let it snow, as our Washington Commanders are headed to beautiful, sunny Tampa, Florida, as they won the sixth seed in the NFC as they beat Dallas last week. And they're just on a roll right now. And to talk about those hot Commanders are Lou Holder, Donna Hopkins, and Solomon McGee, the son of Mr. Tony McGee. Welcome back to the show, Solomon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Marv, again.
All right. Now, Solomon, could you make those sacks like your dad used to do?
Yeah, I will make them good and be able to put a sandwich in them with a bag of chips and you talking about what kind of sack lunch or nah, my game, I was more of
You were a hooper, right?
yeah, I more was a hooper. I went on and stayed on a 94-54 the hardwood flow.
That's what's
All
up.
right. Hey, hey, everybody. Washington, they're turning into the cardiac kids. I mean, they're winning these last minute games, just scaring everybody to death, but they're winning. And let's start out with Donna. You were there in Dallas. Talk about that big victory.
Yeah, Marvin, it was one of those up and down ones where they got off to a slow start once again and had to fight for their life in the end. And as Bobby Wagner told me after the game, is that they know that they can do that, but they don't want to have to do that every game. And being that they're going into the playoffs, you definitely don't want to be playing catch-up ball against a Tampa Bay team that's playing really well. So although, they fought back to win that game. It's been like 4 games in a row that they've had to do that, but they definitely have to be able to get off to quick starts. This is the playoffs, going into the playoffs. It's one and done. So you can't have any trip ups. And this team was pretty upset about how they played. I mean, Jeremy McGee said that, they've got to do better. He was upset with the way that they came out and played that game. And some of the other players, although they were happy with the win, they know that there's a lot of things that they need to clean up.
We've seen it over and over again this year. This is just the nature of this team. They're gritty, they fight, they find ways to win. Sometimes it's not the prettiest teams that get to the Super Bowl or get to the playoffs. It's the ones who can get it done. And after a couple of times in the press box with you guys, I said, hey, look, this is just going to be a team that's going to win ugly. It's going to win kind of crazy. And it's been an up and down year. I mean, it's been a wild ride, but at the end of the day, it's not like my golf friends would always tell me, it's not a postcard, it's a scorecard. And at the end of the day, this team has won 12 games, 5 at the end of the year. That's the one you want to be playing your best football. And now they're going into the playoffs. So at the end of the day, Donna's right. Any player is going to tell them they're not playing their best football, but they're one of the few teams that are playing next week. And Washington, this franchise and this fan base deserves it so much.
Hey, Solomon, Washington, they don't play that well sometimes, and then all of a sudden they win at the end. And that even a guy like Terry McLaurin, Terry did not have a great game early in that game. And then he ends up with the winning touchdown catch. And talk about that. What is it about this team that this happens? Even your starting quarterback goes out, your backup quarterback comes in, and he does just as well. I mean, and we should talk about that, because do we have the best backup quarterback in the NFL? I don't know, maybe so. But Solomon, talk to us about that.
Well, it really starts from the top. We have great leadership this year. We have DQ always fighting to the end, and he always says we have a chance, and we feel like we have a chance. Where I felt like last year with Ron Rivera, if we were up, it's almost like in a fight. If we're up, we're good. But the first punch you get and the first adversity you get, we will be down. Where with DQ, up or down, and the biggest thing that I was telling my father, he kind of reminds me of Joe Gibb era, where his halftime adjustments are amazing. we'll be getting dogged left and right the first half, and then I don't know what happens, kind of like with Joe Gibbs would go in there, do the same thing with my dad's era, and then they come out and they've made adjustments offensive-wise and also defensive-wise. But it starts from the top, and I just feel like he's always in for the fight from the beginning to the end, and it starts with leadership, and DQ has brought that to the table, I feel.
Could it also be the leaders on the team, the players? Lou, you always talk about that. They've got some great leadership, as did Joe Gibbs' team. They have great leaders.
Oh, absolutely. I will say it again. And I'm very, very adamant about this. One of the best free agent signings in this franchise's history, because of the time and place, was bringing in Bobby Wagner. He has settled so many things, almost kind of when London Fletcher was here. He has settled so many things. This team will not lose because he won't let them lose. They have that attitude all week long. When Donna and I see him during the week, I mean, there's just a calm over there knowing that there's this franchise has been a rudderless ship for a long, long time. And we all know it. They've had a lot of talent, but not a lot of leadership. And how are you gonna argue, or how are you going to have anything but positive when somebody who's won a Super Bowl is working just as hard as he was when he won that Super Bowl? The same thing with Zach Ertz. The same thing with a lot of veterans. Tyler Biadasz, your boy Marvin, all these veterans that they brought into the fold so that the young people, and I think that one of the best sound bites that we have gotten throughout the year came from Sam Cosmi when he would say, hey, look, other teams that I have been on, we wouldn't have been able to fight out of this thing, right? I mean, that's huge. He was basically saying that under the Ron Rivera era, when he got started, teams would just fold up and they wouldn't be able to fight out of it. He said, there's something different with this team. And we are like, Whaley, what's different? Now you can see they're finding ways to win because that leadership that's been there before, that's not really as worried about the regular season, but worried about the postseason and the Super Bowl. They're the ones speaking into all these players' ears, and you can see it changing culture, which we've talked about a lot on this show and in this franchise.
Hey, Marvin.
Hey, Donna, is this the team you wanted them to play, Tampa?
You know what? It doesn't matter to me because it's all about this team. You know, you look at who they match up against. You look at a Philadelphia who they played twice and already, so they know each other well. They've got good running games. You look at a Tampa's team that, you know, have a good running game, good receivers, a great defense. And you look at a Rams team that's coming on. So I think it's not about at this stage who you're playing. It's about what you do as a team going into the playoffs, what the Commanders have to do to clean up. I talked about that, how healthy they are. Coach Quinn said on Monday that this team is getting healthy again. Biadasz, Lou talked about him, how instrumental and important it is if he's able to go because he's nursing that ankle and he makes that offense go, that offensive line go. When he's in, this offense plays much better against the run, the pass. He is the quarterback of the offensive line. And so I'm hoping that he gets to play this week because that'll be a big lift for the Commanders. So I think it's the little things that they have to do versus the other teams that they have to play as far as getting that running game going. Coach Quinn talked about them being able to get that. Now that they have Eckler back in, Brian Robinson hasn't played great over the last stretch, but Coach Quinn talked about getting him back in the mix. And then you've got McNichols and Rodriguez. So they got the running game. They've got the wide receivers. Alameda has stepped up, played well, Jamison Crowder in the last 3 or 4 games. And this is, as they told me, all hands on deck this week is what is needed as they go into the playoffs. So I think that's the key thing that you look at. But as everybody has said, the fight. I like what Coach Quinn said, that if they're always in the fight, they're always good. What did he say? Anytime, anywhere, anyhow. And that's the mentality that you look at them taking it into the playoffs.
Mark, can I throw in something else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really interesting that it was 19 years ago this week that Washington got its last win in the playoffs, and it was against Tampa Bay. And I vividly recall Sean Taylor with that scoop and score. And as Donna was talking, I'm just saying that defense, Joe Witt has always said to us going down the stretch, his defense is gonna need to stop the run and produce the football. Washington's defense is gonna have to step up. And I don't know if you remember from just watching the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go at it. Lattimore and Evans have had some classic battles, and it's good to see what's going to happen with Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans and just that whole defense. If that defense can turn Tampa Bay over, man, it's going to be a very, very interesting game next Sunday.
Washington Commanders, 6th seed in the NFC, and they're looking pretty good because they're winning so many close games. And that says a lot about a team. But we always thought that they were going to be a rebuild this year. Solomon, you and Lou talked about that a lot early in the season. What do you have to say about that, Solomon? Is this a rebuild or is it a championship team, playoff team?
I just felt it early the way, and it wasn't just the way we were playing. I was just looking at our conference in general, and that's why I was saying maybe we could rebuild and win at the same time. Now, it was early on, and we had a lot of heartbreaks in the previous years, but it was just a feeling that I had. And look up, 12 wins later and 5 losses. And no, it hasn't been pretty. Matter of fact, look at my fingernails. I haven't had to use my fingernail clippers all year just due to watching the Commanders games. So at the end of the day, it hasn't been pretty, but I was just telling Lou, I just had earlier on, I'm just like the way the Giants was looking, the Cowboys, I'm just like, it may be some luck involved in these wins this year also to put us in the victory lane. And it just happened that way. Now, this is the scary thing is when you are 12-5 this year, now the expectation has been set. So if you come back next year lollygagging, then it's like, man, like we've set the bar. So, but I really felt like this I'm not gonna lie. The first Tampa Bay game when they got us 37-20, I was like, uh-oh. But I feel like we're going to actually play them different now. It's almost like me being on the first show with you guys. I've learned a lot of things since then, too. So I feel like I'm better now, and I wanted to show you guys. So thank you for bringing me back, Marv.
And that had a lot to do with Lou Holder.
Thank you.
The only
thank
thing
you,
about
hey, Brother Lou, thank you for bringing me back. I just wanted to show my knowledge has gotten better since that first week 4, sir.
Most of the media were like Lou, though. We were all saying it's a rebuild. I mean, almost everybody.
No. Let me
put on the brakes. Put on the brakes.
I never said it was a rebuild. I think that Donna, I can speak for Donna, and Donna I think we knew it was like a recalibration. That's what Coach Quinn talked about. We knew that this team was a very talented 4-13 team last year. They were just coached really, really badly, right? What I was telling Solomon is that I know, as Donna knows, as Marvin knows, that there's injuries, there's things that happen in the playoffs, and I mean the regular season, that you just can't really say that, hey, look, you could put them in the playoffs, but the things have happened during this year that all you can do is scratch your head and say, you know what? You need a little bit of things bouncing your way sometimes in a magical season. And we've seen at least 3 or 4 of them this year. At least 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, and when you talk about a rebuild, you're talking about blowing up the team from the bottom on up. And we knew that some areas of this team, the offensive line needed to be, shored up. As far as the secondary, it was pieces of this offense that needed to be shored up. That's not a blow up team as far as starting all over. They didn't have to start over from scratch. And we talked about the personnel that they brought in. When they brought in the coaching staff, when they brought in the Adam Peters, who Lou and all of us constantly talk about, when they brought in that coaching staff, that all-star coaching staff, You knew it wasn't a total rebuild. So I always said that it was pieces that they needed to put in the puzzle to make it fit. And they still need to do that come next year. It's some areas that still need to be shored up. But this team, when you talk about a championship team, this team, I'm not saying a championship team. I'm talking about they are a winning team that has done some tremendous things in a season that I only gave them 7 wins. Truthfully, 7 wins. So they surpassed all of that. And I'm so giddy about them being in the playoffs. I feel like I'm in there walking with them on the field, going through the plays and all of those things. So Jaden Daniels and that fresh breath of air that this team has provided as making us all excited about this team, whether they win or lose. And I expect them, as Solomon said, to play much better than they did the first time around because both teams are different teams.
Well said.
You were talking about.
Well said, Donna Hopkins. Well said.
You were talking about great pieces that they put together. And of course, number one is number 5, Jaden Daniels. And he is going up against a quarterback that's pretty hot.
Jaden Daniels is hot too.
So he's hot too. Yeah, right.
That quarterback has no fear.
But this is the deal.
0.
I think
you look at the quarterbacks that are in the playoffs right now, Jaden Daniels has no fear, and Baker Mayfield, anybody in the NFC, you can honestly say that, what is this kid? How is this kid deficient from any of the other quarterbacks in the NFC? How?
But
we've seen too much.
Where he gets over on all the other ones, those legs. I mean, anytime you need a big play, and we've seen it all year. Jaden Daniels can come up with great plays, not only with his arm, but so much with his legs, which I don't see any other quarterback other than that guy over there in Baltimore doing that.
Look, I was telling Donna on the other day, and I'm gonna be honest, what made Michael Jackson so great, we definitely love his voice, but every once in a while he could be quiet and just move his feet, and we would be like, the same amazement. That's how JD. No, right, Luke? Thank you. He a smooth criminal. He a smooth criminal. He a smooth criminal like Michael Jackson.
Hey, Solomon, you can't even write it up. As Coach Quinn said, you can't even write up what he does on paper.
Come on. He's like Michael. Look, Michael blew us away with his voice, but then every once in a while when he didn't say nothing, we just watch his feet, you would do the same oohs and ahs. So.
Yeah, you know what the great part about this conversation is that the rebuild that you talked about that we said was a recalibration. The reason is that this quarterback has jump-started this, revitalization by at least 2 or 3 years. Because again, the reason why Adam Peters took this job, the reason why Dan Quinn took this job, the reason why a lot of these coaches came is because of what Donna said. It wasn't a rebuild. It was a recalibration. And they knew that there was talent here, knowing that they have close to $1 million, $1 million, $100 million in cap space and draft picks for next year. And this quarterback who has won over all the veterans and all the free agents that might want to come and play for this kid. Man, number 5, he's just special. And we've been through this 25, 26, 27 quarterbacks.
Finally got it right.
And they finally got it right. And this it's just amazing to watch. It is fun. It is fun. But again, I as much as he likes to run, Solomon, at some point you're going to have to traditionally run that ball because you don't want your top rusher every single week to be your quarterback. You just don't want it that way. So hopefully this running game, because again, you got to be able to run the ball in the playoffs. And this offensive line, like Donna said, if Tyler Biadasz is in there and that offensive line is doing what they like to do, Brian Robinson, Rodriguez, Eckler, McNichols, they all need to get off because that is just going to be another layer that I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be ready for this time around.
Yeah. Can they stop Evans though? He's breaking records and all kinds of things. I mean, they're just having fun over there too. But can they stop? You think that
That's why Lattimore is brought in. That's why Lattimore is here.
So is he? Yeah.
If
So
he
he's
if
the
he
guy.
is if he's the signs are showing that he will play. We'll know later on in the week if that's going to be the case. But take nothing away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their offense is explosive. You got Baker Mayfield. The first time around, he was running circles around them, and that is the scary thing, is that this defense has to step up big. The defensive front, because they haven't been able to stop the run all season pretty much. And then, they went up against some great running backs down this second half stretch and haven't been able to really contain those running backs as far as the gap control and all of those things. That must be better this week because, you got Baker Mayfield running around, you got the running back, you got the weapons on as to wide receivers. So you've got a lot to contend with. And on the other end, our offense has a lot to contend with a top explosive defense who is great against stopping the run. And also they blitz a lot. Now, I asked Coach Quinn on Monday about how do you counter that blitzing when they're going to come at you over and over again. And he was just talking about that they have to stay true to what they do as far as their blocking assignments and all of those things. So this is a big task for Washington on both the offensive side and the defensive side. And if they put together a complete game, as Coach Quinn said, that they haven't done yet, this Commanders team can walk away with a win, but they have to be on their P's and Q's, and they can't make mistakes as far as all these penalties that they've been getting the last few games either.
Yeah.
Can they get Brian Robinson into the offense? He's got 799 yards rushing, and Jaden has 891 yards rushing. So, Lou, to your point, they've got to get those running backs the ball.
Your quarterback can't lead the team in rushing yards. You got three. Come on, running backs. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Come on, man.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like this with the Evans. Evans is gonna get his, but I feel like it's back in the day with breakdancing. We knew we had to bring our people to match up against the other crew because they're gonna have theirs, but ours have to get ours. We can't wait for Terry McLaurin to show up the last play of the game because Mike's gonna get his early. We need Terry to get his early. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be like we can't have nobody waiting until the last few minutes to show up. And Terry is our go-to guy. So he's going to show me that he's ready to be there early, just like I know Mike Evans is.
Do you all agree it's going to go down to the wire again?
I don't know. I hope it don't go down to the wire. I hope that the Commanders
That's always favoring us, right?
Hey, Marv, I don't have no more fingernails, and I'm not messing with my toes. I hope it don't go down to the wire.
Just get some popcorn. On that.
Hey,
I mean, this is the playoffs. The Commanders just cannot be waiting to try to play catch up. Yes, we know that they can play catch up, but this is the playoffs. It goes up another level in the playoffs. And so, this is a young team that's going into the playoffs for the first time. That's not Tampa Bay. They have a lot of people on this team that was on that Super Bowl championship team back years ago with Brady. So this Commanders team, how would they respond being a young team going into the playoffs? Well, to me, as they always say to me, you just got to treat it like a same old game, even though it's not.
And speaking of playoffs, the playoff picture, it looks really interesting this season. And how do you guys feel about this playoff picture, especially with the Ravens? A lot of people are picking the Ravens to go all the way in the AFC. And they're playing very well now, which is a good thing for them. But also on the NFC, Detroit is playing very well, but Philadelphia is too. And then Washington, as we said, Sal Palantonio said they can get right there to the Super Bowl. Where do you guys see these teams? We got a few minutes to chat about that.
Definitely the Ravens, I think, as far as the first round against Pittsburgh, but I'm not for sure if they're going all the way because Kansas City, everybody wants to count them out just because they've been barely winning, but they are 15-1, and I think they're playing at Arrowhead Stadium. Baltimore made that mistake of letting them there. And on the other end, I think you got to look at Detroit. Detroit basically lost the first spot and then came back and dusted the Vikings. So they got a body back. Their offense is playing well, but Philadelphia, it concerns me still with Jalen Hurts. How is that concussion situation going? I mean, they've got, the other pieces, but your quarterback is what makes things go. So, I mean, I'm not going to count out Buffalo either, but I still think that you got to go through Kansas City in the AFC and the NFC. To me, it's wide open. The Commanders is right there in the conversation.
Lou and Solomon, you guys like Washington against Detroit?
Well, first of all, with the Ravens, I think that what's different, they brought in Derrick Henry, right, to run the football. Last year, when they lost that game, I know everybody was blaming say Flowers and his mistake at the end. They brought in Henry to run the football. If they do not use him in the playoffs, it's going to be very, very sad. The reason why the Ravens are a sexy pick or whatever is because they have a running game that they did not have last year. And if they're going to do anything, Derrick Henry needs to be a big part of that offense just as much as Lamar Jackson. And, on the NFC side, Detroit is there, but when Sal Paolantonio said that last week, that, hey, look, he doesn't count Jaden Daniels out, I love the fact that he has no fear. Every time we talk to him, he's just like, yo, it's another game. He's like a cool customer. Like, none of this stuff is really going to phase him. So because of that, and if you are a defense in the NFC playoffs, you do not want to be going up against Jaden Daniels because he's so unpredictable.
Solomon?
I'm gonna go like this. I've learned from Mr. Gary Clark, as I call him. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes no more. So we just gonna leave it with that with the AFC. As far as us, I'm gonna be honest. They don't want to see us. I'm gonna be honest. The Eagles and all these people that are pretty good and are established and they've been here before. You're right. They don't want to play a Commander team that may beat you at the end. So I like what we're doing. And no. I'm gonna be honest. I think that we can get Detroit. What up though to Detroit? I spent. That's where I went to school and played a little college basketball at Eastern Michigan. But they know that the DMV can't come up there and make it, just like I did for 3 years and made it happen. So I feel like we can get Detroit. But I like us. But I'm definitely not betting against Mr. Patrick Mahomes and them boys no more.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Great words of wisdom. I think I'm like Gary Clark, though.
Come on,
Patrick
playoffs.
Mahomes, I can't go against Patrick.
Can't do it no more.
But Jaden is coming. Jaden is coming, as Deion Sanders said. We coming. So thanks so much for being with us on Sideline Report, Solomon.
Appreciate you guys.
We'll see you again later in the playoff. Let's hope so, right?
Hey, hopefully so. Then I could show Mr. Holder if I just wanted to come back on and show them that I've graduated a pinch.
All right.
My knowledge of being.
I'm proud of you, young man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir. So appreciate you guys. Good seeing you as always.
All right. Well, take care and stay out of that snow, man. So thanks everybody for joining us on Sideline Report. I'm Marvin Jackson. For the rest of the Sideline Report team, we'll see you next time on the Sideline. Take care, everybody.